So we then talk with people about creating that dementia-friendly environment. We talk about making entrances and exits clear. We talk about using colored rugs, not black. Black is often one of the things we find with people with dementia is especially their depth perception. And they start to have visual issues, but especially depth perception. And a black rug looks like a black hole. Sometimes that's useful. You might see in a dementia community that they have black rugs at the doors. That can be a way to, keep people from wanting to go out the door because they get to that black rug and people will stop. It looks like a hole, like they're going to fall in, so they would back up. But if you're the new library and you want to be welcoming, you don't want to put a black rug in the door. You want people to go in and out. So, there are some ways that we can do that. Signage is very good. And like my restroom sign there, it's for men, women, handicap. It's an all use kind of restroom. The park department, our park department is working very hard now, and all the new parks have family restrooms. So caregivers, people that go out with their loved ones, say that's the biggest challenge is they need to go to some place where they know there's a restroom that they can use, or at least that they feel comfortable standing outside the door. And it's not like, well, here's this, older woman standing outside the door, men's room. What is she doing? And so other men going in will feel uncomfortable. So the family restrooms are really important in this situation. And we're trying to make signs large, very clear, and placed somewhere where it's easy to follow as well. So depending on facilities, we'll talk with them more about their design and their signage. We also talk with businesses or places about caregiving. Do you have staff that are giving care? And do you know that 1 out of 6 employees are caregivers? 60% of those are female and 40% male, and 25% are millennials, or some of those younger people born between 81 and 96. And so we have caregivers of all ages working and trying to also be that caregiver for an older adult with dementia. So caregivers are concerned, in the workplace or in their church about a lot of things, that there's a lot of emotional stress. They feel stressed, they feel anxious. As dementia progresses, particularly that caregiving role is 24/7. And there's some stigma involved there. They're reluctant to talk to others. There may be fear from a professional level. People are afraid to talk about their caregiving role because they fear maybe being viewed as less committed. They fear that colleagues might feel resentful if I have to get up and go take care of my elderly mother. That leaves my friend Rebecca to pick up my part of the workload. They don't want to feel they're not pulling their weight in their job. Financial things, if I don't go to work and I don't get paid, that may my income might go down, and I need that income because of some increased out-of-pocket expenses. Usually caregivers spend about $7,000 a year. And a lot of times caregivers want to work if they're still able to, and their person doesn't need the 24/7 care. They might want to work, or they might be willing to bring in people to help. But that costs, some money, so that they need to work so that they can afford some care, some respite. And then one of the biggest things we're concerned about with caregivers is the caregiver's health. Often the caregivers don't have time for their own health needs. They might feel lonely or isolated and have a higher or increased risk for cardiovascular disease, other things going on. And that's another reason why we want to embrace this dementia-friendly Missoula, is also to help the health of the caregiver, because that caregiver is extremely important in dementia situations. And we want to support our staff that are caregiving, because from an employer's point of view, we want to maximize productivity, improve the employees' physical and emotional health. We want to attract and retain talent and reduce healthcare costs. And so when we are working with a bank or a business, we talk about what are they doing to help or support their staff. We also talk with them about what if they're concerned about one of their staff members may have dementia, and maybe they're starting to see some signs that aren't being recognized yet. And so we can talk a little bit about that as well with a business or an organization. And I say then we have a window decal. We are just starting to put these out. So Missoula Aging Services, we have done some presentations at some of the home health agencies. We've done some training. The new library will have these signs on their doors. A couple of the banks have started to put these in their window. And again, that means that their staff has had some training in dementia. They've talked and they've looked at their environment and they've made some changes, tried to update their signage and do some things like that to make a more dementia-friendly environment where they are. One of the things that we have done is worked with physicians' offices, and we've put these packets in the waiting rooms. And right now, a lot of these are being taken out because they don't want people touching things and then someone else touching them. But in good times, we have this brochure, Are You Concerned About Memory Loss? And then it gives you some information about local resources. Are you concerned? Well, here's the 10 signs for early detection and some principles for a dignified diagnosis. What we're trying to do also is do some training for the providers, to say there are good ways and bad ways to tell someone they or their loved one has dementia. And we've heard some really good stories, and we've heard some stories that are concerning about this. And so it's really important to get a dignified diagnosis in the early stages, so that in the early stages, I can still make some decisions. I can plan for my future. I can have honest conversations about, finances and care, the types of care. When will it be important to give my caregiver permission to ask for help, and possibly think of placement at some time if that's needed. And so it's really, early detection is really important. What we know is that as older adults, we are often the first person to recognize something is not quite right. And when we go and we talk with our doctor, we don't want to be dismissed as like, oh, that's just normal aging. Because some things are normal aging, and, like, oh man, I talk about dementia being different from normal aging as different from dementia. One of them is like, I want to make a pot of coffee. So in normal aging, I might go into the kitchen and, oh, there's a cup I rinse off first and I do this, and then, I meant to put away that, thing. So I put it away, and then I'm like, what did I come in the kitchen for? I don't remember what I came in the kitchen for. And then, might walk back out, and then it's like, oh yeah, I was going to make myself coffee, and I'll go back in and, I'll go straight to the coffee pot this time and I'll make coffee. That's kind of normal aging. Or where are my keys? Has anyone done that? Or where's your cell phone? Where's my cell phone? Where's my cell phone? We do that. We forget where we put things. That's kind of normal aging. When I want to make coffee and I get to the coffee pot and I can't remember the steps in how to make coffee. So here's the coffee machine. How do I get coffee out of it? Well, I have to go to the sink and I have to, get water in it. I have to pour it in there. I have to put the coffee in there. I have to put the filter in there. Those are 5 or 6 steps. When I get to the coffee maker and I can't remember how to make the coffee, or I find my keys and I don't remember what the keys are for. Oh, here I found a key. I can use this for my car. That could be a sign of dementia, when we can't figure out what the key is for or how to make the coffee. Those are concerning signs, and those are things that you should share with your healthcare provider. And that's not normal aging. And as adults, we sometimes have to be our biggest advocate and tell our doctor, no, this is not normal. This is not normal for me. I know how to make coffee most of the time, but I was not able to figure out how to make coffee last week. That's not normal. And so those are the kinds of things that these brochures, talk about. The Alzheimer's Association has a lot of information. They have a very good website. The information for Dementia Friendly Missoula is on the Missoula Aging Services website. And we talk about why early detection matters. And again, it's so that we can make those and be involved in the changes that will be happening as this progressive disease that doesn't have a cure, that doesn't have a lot of good treatment. As it progresses, we need to be able to, in those early stages, make those decisions for ourselves and our caregivers. I say, so for more information, you can look at the Alzheimer's Association. Dementia Friendly America is, we are also affiliated with them as Dementia Friendly Missoula. And in Montana, about 5 years ago, we started a state plan. So there's a Montana Alzheimer's disease and related dementia state plan. It's mtalz.org. And it talks about the kinds of things we're doing around the state to try to address dementia in our communities. And so you can also find information there. The Alzheimer's Association has 24/7 help. If you're a caregiver and you're in a situation that you do not know what is going on or you do not know what to do, you can call the 24/7 line and they will talk with you. Dementia Friendly Missoula, as I said, is an all-volunteer organization. So we like to thank our Missoula Aging Services, the Montana Geriatric Education Center, and the Rural Institute, the Alzheimer's Association, Dementia Friendly America, and the Fraternal Order of Eagles. So I'm back down to that question part. So if people have questions about what we're trying to do or questions about dementia or care, Rebecca and or Jim will jump in and help me answer those.
One thing, Terry, that I've noticed with dementia is that even though there's the cognitive decline, there seems to be an emotional intensifying because people really feel strongly both embarrassment, happiness, loneliness.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, any questions or comments? Sandy?
Is it in your genetics?
There is some, what we call early onset dementia. That means it starts before the age of 65. They are seeing that as being more genetically inclined. But just because my mom got dementia at 55 doesn't mean I will. You still have to have that genetic mutation for it. And, it's like every other one, Some of the children might have it and others won't. And even if you have the gene, it's not 100% sure that you will develop dementia. So again, some of those lifestyle changes could stave that off longer, possibly. If your parent had or family members have had dementia and they're 85 or 90 when they start getting dementia, you know, that is a little bit more common. But again, that number one risk is age. So it's their age that, you know, and so if you live to 90 or 95, you may have some signs of dementia, you know, but there isn't a genetic factor for that older onset.
Well, is it alcohol related?
You know, there is an alcohol dementia type, one of that whole umbrella of different types of dementia. People with alcoholism and that, you know, sort of what I would call an uncontrolled alcoholism over their life seem to develop dementia at a higher rate than the more normal population.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ken?
Thank you for that, Terry. So you mentioned appropriate activities for folks dealing with dementia. What do you have in mind? What are appropriate activities?
Yeah, and I think Rebecca has a really good sense too of some activities that we have available in our community. So Rebecca, do you want to answer that and then I'll tag on?
One of the things is to start out with a healthy diet. And that needs to start early on, because when you have other underlying conditions like cardiovascular disease and diabetes, those kinds of things, and obesity, especially extreme obesity, your risk of Alzheimer's goes up. And also exercise is such an important thing. So to join a yoga or a walking group or something to keep active every day. It's also really important to get enough sleep. And so if you're having trouble sleeping, maybe you need to do a little bit of anti-anxiety kinds of things like meditation. And it seems to me that the more connected you are with your friends and community, the lower your stress level, and that tends to help reduce the risk of getting Alzheimer's. There's a diet called the MIND diet, and it's really a combination of the DASH diet, which many of you may know about, and the Mediterranean diet. So eating healthy foods every day and not overloading your body with too many sugars or unhealthy fats. Those can help you remain healthier for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I think recently there was the International Alzheimer's Association meeting, and there is some really new research that's coming out about that prevention. May be the best thing that we can do, because there's not been a lot of good forward movement in treatment and you know, medications and things like that. There's not been a lot of real promising things once we have that dementia. So that prevention is really the key. And I think very soon here now I've seen some things that there will be some big announcements again on the prevention side for developing dementias, all along the line of what Rebecca says, and all around that. We need to have the healthy lifestyles and lead those healthy lifestyles. The other thing too is that sometimes, again, we want a good diagnosis when we go, and a compassionate diagnosis, and not someone who's just going to say, oh my gosh, you have dementia, you should just go home and play Sudoku or word puzzles or things like that for your mind. if you're a person who's engaged in your community, the best advice is you need to go home and continue doing your yoga class, continue your running, continue. I heard someone say they were off hiking. You need to continue those kinds of things and be socially engaged and get good sleep. So when you get a diagnosis, it's really critical to continue those things that you were doing to have a healthy lifestyle. That can help possibly slow that progression. So it's really critical to do all the things that Rebecca was saying.
And with the increase in baby boomers, I think there's more pressure in our society to pay more attention to Alzheimer's and do some more research. If we didn't have COVID interfering right now, think of the money that could go into research for preventing dementias and maybe treating, because the medications, they're doing a lot of different studies on medications, but they haven't found a good match yet. I just think there needs to be more effort made. Because I think many of us, one of the things we fear about aging is that we will have cognitive decline. It's probably one of the greatest fears on aging. We don't really go out there fearful every day that we're going to fall so much as thinking about, oh my gosh, I think I'm losing my mind. I can't remember where I put my keys. Or the other day I was in a different town and I got turned around and I couldn't figure out where I was for a second. Those kind of things start to make us really worry.
So other questions or comments?
Bill?
Yes, I'm affiliated with the Molly program at the university. The issue has come up. A lot of the Molly members are shut-ins. All of the Molly classes now are through Zoom. A lot of times, some of our members, the only social interaction they have is with Molly classes. It has been suggested, or the question has been asked, is there some service available in Missoula, even through Missoula Aging Services, where these extreme shut-ins can participate in some program, talk to somebody every now and then? You know, I think those the shut-in scenario can just get worse and worse.
That's a really good question, Bill. And there are Alzheimer's support groups, and there's a memory cafe where they're meeting. Some are monthly, but some are weekly, to help engage both the people who have dementia and their caregivers. It's really great to get involved with those groups.
And the Memory Cafe is run through Missoula Library, so it might just, especially if someone has gotten used to the Zoom environment, then they may want to join the public library's Memory Cafe. Ken and I have been there a couple times, and it's really, and Jim kind of has a regular there too, Jim Cook, and you know, it's really quite a, you know, a fun activity, and you don't have to have dementia to go or participate. And you know, it's they've gone online. There's also a art in the moment that the Missoula that Missoula Art Museum is doing. And so, you know, there are a couple things like that, but Missoula Aging Services does have a new program that they're working with some seniors and shut-ins. Right in the COVID environment, they're trying to identify seniors that need help, and their core of senior companions that are, or foster grandparents that often go to schools and things and work with children do not have their work site to go to. And so they're kind of refocusing, and they're reaching out to seniors in the community that need a call. And so as a foster grandparent, what I might do is not get a child, but I might be paired with another older adult who needs some, you know, socialization or help. So Missoula Aging Services is a good place to start, or, you know, contact about those. We also have a program. They're also starting a program which they're helping people and giving them tablets and teaching them how to get online and how to get engaged. And so there are a couple of programs that are doing that now as well in this COVID environment, and a core of teens that are, you know, volunteering to engage with an older adult and teach them how to, you know, use their tablet. And often that's done on the phone, and I call you, and then we get your, you know, tablet or your computer up and running, and we get on a Zoom room together, and then I can show you how to use your Zoom room and connect. So there are some of those things going on in this environment.
Yeah, there's also a couple of individuals in Dementia Friendly Missoula that are trying to get together a music program and try some music therapy, because they find that people with dementia really have that connection with music and with art. But with the COVID kind of interfering, that there's been some additional challenges, and we haven't been able to move as quickly forward with that program. But it is something that you'll see in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bill?
So in regards to Missoula Aging Services, who would be the contact person for these shut-ins to contact?
You know, if you call the front desk, their main number, that and tell them what you're interested, they will route you to the right person, because they have several people that are handling that.
Okay,
You know,
good.
so.
Thank you very much.
Wolf?
So my question is, we're going to get a vaccine here the next 12 months or so. I'm kind of wondering who makes a decision with those kinds of folks, barring any availability of relatives, about getting vaccinated or not?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of that would depend on their healthcare provider. And then there'll be probably some kind of protocol for who gets the vaccine first. And I'm hoping that seniors will be on that list, because we're so much more susceptible to COVID.
Right.
Particularly having more difficult outcomes.
Yeah, in general, you know, it begs the question for me is who is available, or who makes decisions that are somewhat critical regarding, you know, health. That could be the healthcare provider, but regarding other things like financial issues, et cetera. Is there an organization that a person with dementia is paired with that can help make those decisions?
If there's not and that's why that early detection is and early diagnosis is really critical, because then I can say, when I can no longer make decisions, this person is going to do that. And so that's really critical. And then, you know, if not, if you don't have that, then it's whoever is in charge of making all the decisions for you, you know, whether that might be, you know, if you don't have anyone, then sometimes there are programs where you have a guardian assigned, and that guardian makes those decisions with your healthcare provider.
Thank you.
Ken?
Yeah, thanks again for the presentation. I just wanted to ask about caregivers, because Terry, we know a number of folks who are caregivers for people with Alzheimer's, and I do worry about them. I think that it's an incredible strain on them. Are there groups or ways for caregivers to get together to kind of consult with each other, raise each other's morale, et cetera?
Mm-hmm. And again, Missoula Aging Services has a couple of caregiver groups, and they're kind of that are for people with dementia and or other things. They are also they have a class that's starting here, I think next week, called Powerful Tools for Caregivers, which is they're doing it online. And so it's a way that a caregiver can learn some skills of communication, but also especially self-care, those kinds of things. And so again, that Missoula Aging Services is that good conduit to get you connected with either a support group or a class. So, and then if anyone is interested or has a church or a bank or a business or, something that they think, would benefit from, this kind of program or us, working with them, please, again, you can call Missoula Aging Services and say, hey, your bank, you talk to your banker and Joe Smith would like a dementia presentation. They will get that information to us and we'll set something up. And so, or you can also email myself directly if you'd like as well. So that, and we have a group, Rebecca and Jim and I are on today, but we have a group of about 7 people that are doing these talks. And so, we just see who's available at the time the talk is needed. And, a couple people will go out and do the presentation.